Hi, Tony DeWitt here, Missouri Appellate Attorney and a guy who likes to make the law make sense on YouTube. Today we are going to try to make sense of what President Trump did with his classified documents and why he is in significant hot water. But I probably don't have very many answers in this regard. So join me down at the beach and we'll talk about this. I think when President Trump lost the election in November of 2020, something inside him just broke. And I think that I always thought he was a pretty decent president as far as his policies, but he had terrible judgment about people, and particularly people that he hired in terms of the his jobs, like the Secretary of State, the Attorney General, the First Attorney General, some of those positions that he filled, he just did a terrible job with. And I hate to say that, but because generally speaking, I'm a conservative, I wanted the man to do well, but he did not surround himself with people who were particularly competent. And as a result, I think his presidency was hamstrung from the beginning. And then, of course, there was the Russia hoax and the impeachment hoax and that sort of thing that really wasn't fair to him, but which drug him down and reduced him in the eyes of the American people. And so by the time he got to the point where he could run for re-election, and he ran for re-election and he lost, I just think the sum total of that caused something inside of him to break. And then as a result of that, he did some things that, if he had really thought about them, if he had been anything but criminally reckless, he wouldn't have done. Let's look real quickly at some of the information in the indictment. And I don't have to go very far in this to make my point, so stand by and let's take a look at the indictment. This is the indictment naming Donald J. Trump and Waltine Nauta as defendants. And the grand jury charged him with 37 different counts. And it says he had lawful access to the classified information while he was president. And over the course of his presidency, he put a bunch of this stuff in cardboard boxes that he kept at the White House. Among the materials stored in his boxes were hundreds of classified documents. The classified documents Trump stored in his boxes included information regarding defense and weapons capabilities of both the U.S. and foreign countries. Disclosure of these classified documents could put at risk the national security of the United States. And at noon on January 20th, 2021, Trump ceased to be president. After that, at the Mar-a-Lago Social Club, he showed a still classified document to a writer, and he said, as president, I could have declassified it. Now I can't, but this is still a secret. So in essence, he knew what he was doing was wrong. He also showed this to a political action committee member. He then endeavored to obstruct the grand jury investigation by telling people to lie, suggesting that an attorney hide or destroy documents, and causing a false certification to be submitted to the FBI. In addition to injuring his own interests, Trump also managed to bring down with him his former Navy valet. He'd been stationed at the White House during Trump's presidency, and he worked closely with Trump, and as a result, he helped him in this effort to hide and keep the documents away from the government. I could go through the rest of this. There are 37 counts in this, including conspiracy to obstruct the investigation and other things like that. But right now, in looking at this, I am just incensed. And I think every American has a right to be. Well, a long time ago, in 1973, BB, what my son would call before broadband, I was a member of the military and I had access to classified information. In order to get that access, I had to undergo an extensive background investigation. And then after that background investigation, I had to sign a non-disclosure agreement. And I had to sign information that said I recognized that if I failed to keep the information secret, that I could be prosecuted under the Espionage Act. And I think when you're in the military and you know that releasing information probably couldn't hurt you, but it could certainly hurt the other members of the military and our intelligence services, you tend to hold that information very close. And so certainly that's what I did. So when I see somebody who abuses the privilege of knowing classified information, and here I'm talking about that crazy guy in the Air National Guard who put stuff on Patreon, and Edward Snowden, and the guy Manning who released a bunch of stuff to WikiLeaks. All of these people violated their acts, and all of them committed crimes. And if Snowden comes back to the United States, as far as I'm concerned, because he violated that act, he ought to be prosecuted for a violation of the Espionage Act. I think classified information is in violation of the law regarding classified information is a serious crime. Now, again, fair disclosure, I voted for Mr. Trump and I generally supported him during his presidency. But I can't support this, and I would think that any thinking person could not do that. I heard on the news today that he intends to continue to run for president. And I can't believe that people would vote for him knowing what's in this indictment. This is not the kind of thing that is a political witch hunt. This is a very well-crafted indictment that essentially alleges that President Trump was criminally reckless with classified information. And here's the real issue with regard to the classified information. If you disclose sources and methods, you can shut off the ability for the United States to get information that helps us. So, for example, if we have some kind of a whiz-bang satellite that can photograph, the antennas on a gnat from outer space, and, we're reading the newspaper in Moscow with it, and that gets revealed to the people in Moscow, the first target they're going to have in any dust-up with us is that satellite. Now, I use that hypothetical situation hoping to heaven that we don't actually have something like that. And if we do, I certainly don't know about it. But the bottom line is, if you reveal that we have a source that gives us information, it is reasonably easy for the other side, whoever that may be, to shut down that link and essentially destroy our ability to keep tabs on groups that might harm us. And so when I see people, and I guess I should back up a little bit and say not everything is classified for a legitimate reason. Sometimes things are classified for illegitimate reasons. For example, to protect generals and admirals from the shame that comes with having made really stupid decisions. And sometimes things are classified just because somebody has the immediate gut reaction that, wow, this should not be released to the public. Not that it actually harms American interests. But whether or not the classification is legitimate, that doesn't matter. What matters is there's a classification, and no one person, even a former president, has the right to determine that something is not classified. Now, certainly President Trump had the ability, while he was president, to declassify anything he wanted to take with him. But he did not do that. There are procedures to do that, but he did not do that. And even if he had lawful access to it while he was president, in order to have lawful access to it after he leaves the White House, he has to get a waiver for the need to know provision. When you get classified information, you can have it, one, if you meet the background check requirements and it's necessary for your job, and two, you have a need to know that information in order to do your job. So, for example, if you are a Patriot missile systems officer, you might need to know the schematic diagram for how that missile runs. If you are a clerk in the medical detachment and you are getting ready to treat somebody who works on a Patriot missile, you probably don't have the need to know anything about that missile, even if you have the background check and could qualify for the classified information in that respect. You have to have a need to know. Well, once you leave the White House and once you're no longer making decisions that affect the national security, you no longer have a need to know any of that information. And that's especially true with someone who's garrulous like President Trump and who is just as likely as not to spill the beans to any number of people. The thing I think that upset me the most in that indictment was just in the first few pages where he's audio recorded, saying, it's still classified, I should have declassified it while I was president, but it's still secret, indicating that he knew what he was doing was wrong. I believe that every prosecution should be based on the law, and that we shouldn't prosecute people because they're political rivals. And while I have my doubts about the timing of this and the politics associated with it, if what they have put in this indictment can be proved, and I was on the jury in Miami, I would vote to convict. I think that, again, we haven't heard anything from his defense. He has a right to make a defense to all of these charges, and there is the presumption of innocence. As it stands right now, he's innocent until the government proves him guilty. But if they make the proof of the elements in this indictment, then I do believe he is guilty, and he should go to jail for that. As difficult as that is for me to say, he should go to jail. He should. Now, I'm sure there'll be a lot of whataboutism in this with regard to President Trump. Biden had classified documents. Hillary Clinton had a bunch of classified documents that she should have taken care of. Mr. Comey gave her a free pass. So far, everybody has given Biden a free pass on his. As far as I'm concerned, Comey made a terrible mistake, and Biden should be held to the same standard. If he has violated the law, then he should be prosecuted in exactly the same way that Mr. Trump is going to be prosecuted. That's how I feel about classified information. The people who are out there on the front lines, particularly in the intelligence community, they depend on the people who use the intelligence product, to keep them safe, to have their back. President Trump violated that trust if this indictment can be proved. Again, not assuming that it can, but if it can be proved, he violated that. He did not have their back, and he should be held accountable for that. So that's what I have for you today. It's kind of a sad day for me because somebody that I respected has really let me down. And I just feel like it's important to say that. I have partisan feelings about many things, but when it comes right down to it, I want the best for my country. And I want the people who are out there serving my country protected. And the idea that somebody put them at risk, that just makes me sad. That's what I have for you today. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below. Like, share, subscribe, all of those things. And if you have the opportunity today, do something kind for someone. It's not going to make up for this terrible breach of what President Trump did, but it might make you feel better. I know I'm going to find somebody to help today just because I think I need to feel better. All right, that's what I have. We'll see you next time down here at the beach. If you like this video, here are a few others you might try, and don't forget to subscribe. Have a terrific day, guys.